The Sega Saturn is one of the more obscure Sega consoles out there. In fact, it didn't really get a lot of love at all back in the day, unless you lived in Japan, got curb stomped by the Sony Playstation, smashed by the N64. But it did have a lot of great games, from the likes of Nights into Dreams, to Panzer Dragoon, to Clockwork Knight, to Sonic R. Okay, that last one's a guilty pleasure. But it also had a large number of really weird games, especially when you take into account that in Japan it had well over 1,000 games released for it. And when you have that many games released for a console, you can bet that at least some of them would really make you scratch your head. So come along on today's episode of Stuff We Play as we go through 3 really weird Sega Saturn games. Welcome to Stuff We Play, where I'm serious. I actually like Sonic R. It has a great soundtrack, and yeah, okay. But if you like Sega and weird games, why not subscribe? So today, yes, we're talking about weird Sega Saturn games. I'm assuming you knew that because you probably read the title of this video. The first game on today's list is Sexy Proteus. If that name sounds familiar, you might be familiar with the game Proteus, which is a parody of Konami's Gradius. Sexy Proteus is quite an interesting game. Now, Proteus was already a parody of Gradius, but Sexy Proteus knocks it up to another level. I mean, just look at this. There's giant corn, there's taco dragons, there's lots of anime booty. Gameplay is pretty simple. It's a horizontal shooter. You choose one of 8 different characters. That's right, 8 different characters, each with 3 different ways to play, and off you go. You have a weapon bar on the bottom of the screen. By collecting these red icons that are dropped by enemies, you can then actually scroll through the bar and choose what weapons you want. However, there is another way to get power-ups as well, by shooting these bells. If you just collect the base yellow bells, they'll give you points. However, if you shoot them tons and tons, it will actually give you some power-ups. And if that sounds familiar, that's from another Konami shooter, Twin B. Now, Sexy Proteus has quite a range of characters, from a paper airplane, to a bunny girl riding on a rocket, to a fish. This game is very weird. Very weird. Why not take a look at the likes of the toilet penguin, or the nutsack beaver, or the final, oh my, she just crushed that guy for ass. Sexy Proteus, actually a really good game, and it's not Saturn exclusive. It came out in arcades originally and also received a port to the PlayStation 1, later the PSP. But as it came out on the Saturn as well, it's perfect for this list, because when the hell would I ever get a chance to talk about Sexy Proteus? So, yeah, that's a really weird Japanese exclusive game. However, there were a few really odd, weird, strange, whatever you want to call them, games that came out stateside as well. So here to talk about what's by far the strangest game for the North American Sega Saturn library is Mr. RGT85. Take it away, Sean.
So you want to talk about some weird Sega Saturn games. Okay, I get that. I've played a lot of Sega Saturn games in my time, and some of them were pretty weird. But the weirdest one, the one that sticks out to me the most, has to be Mr. Bones. If you don't know what Mr. Bones is, you play as a dead blues musician who comes back to life to stop an army of evil skeletons, even though you yourself are a skeleton. And there's like weird skeleton levels, and there's combat, and there's like a section of the game where you're playing a rock solo. No, I'm serious. You literally sit there with a guitar and you have to time your button presses to play a song right. If you play the song wrong, the audience gets mad and you die. Mr. Bones, this game is weird as hell. I don't understand where you come up with the concept for this game, what sort of drugs you have to be on to come up with this, but it's really not a bad game. It's just really strange. It's really weird. It's a game I really enjoy though. If you've never played Mr. Bones, which you probably haven't unless you own it on the Sega Saturn, if you own a Saturn, be on the lookout for it. It's not a bad game, but it's definitely weird. It's definitely not your run-of-the-mill game. I really enjoy it though, and that's all that matters. So, Mr. Bones, definitely probably the weirdest North American Sega Saturn release.
You know, this is an awfully phallic sounding episode, what with Sexy Proteus, Mr. Bones. What next? A hentai game or something? Nah. Though we are looking at something quite dirty, because you know it's something that was really lacking in the North American Sega Saturn library? Boobies. For this next century, we're talking about something that may or may not get my account banned. The Yak Yukin Special. Another Japanese exclusive game that pretty much comes down to strip, rock, paper, scissors. Look at that dancing. So what's the plot of the Yakuken special? Well, get this. Imagine this. You're an incredibly lonely guy with no access to the internet, and you want a way to get your rocks off on the weekend. So what do if you own a Sega Saturn? You buy the likes of the Yakuken special. A game in only the lightest of terms, because this is strip, rock, paper, scissors. A girl dances, a girl of your choice. There's like 12 different girls. And then from there, you play rock, paper, scissors. It's all completely random, with the A button being rock, B being paper, C being scissors, or something like that. Literally, that's it. That's it. That's your controls. That's everything in the game. And if you win, she removes an article of clothing. And if you lose, she looks at you disdainfully, and I guess you remove an article of clothing. I don't really think this game is for me, and I don't really think it do particularly well nowadays. I mean, if you disagree, leave your thoughts in the comment section below, though I know certainly after finishing this video I need to play something more wholesome, such as Super Mario Odyssey, because I feel dirty just looking at this game. Are there any really odd, strange Sega Saturn games, or even just games in general, that you think I should take a look at? Well, let me know down in the comment section below. And while you're at it, why don't you subscribe to Stuff We Play for more great content like this? And if you aren't subscribed to him already, why don't you go subscribe to RGT85. Thank you tons, dude, for coming along for today's video. Mr. Bones is actually a game I've never played, and one I really want to take a look at now, because it actually looks quite good despite how weird it is. But I'm just starting to ramble at this point. So with that, thank you very much for watching, stay classy, and I'll see you next time.